This is a devastating and heartbreaking day around the country, particularly for Asian Americans who awoke today to the news that 6 Asian American women were killed in 3 separate shootings that clearly were targeting people of Asian descent in massage parlors in the Atlanta area. And to see these 6 women's lives snuffed out like this in such brutal and senseless fashion, it's heartbreaking because you think about these women, their lives, their hopes, their dreams, their children, their families who will never see them again. And why? Because of this senseless act of racially fueled violence that is unfortunately becoming all too common in our country.
Very concerned because, as you know, I've been speaking about the brutality against Asian Americans for the last couple months, and I think it is very, very troublesome. And but I'm making no connection at this moment to the motivation of the killer. I'm waiting for an answer from, as the investigation proceeds, from the FBI and from the Justice Department.
It is tragic, and it speaks to a larger issue, which is the issue of violence in our country and what we must do to never tolerate it and to always speak out against it. The investigation is ongoing. We don't yet know, we're not yet clear about the motive, but I do want to say to our Asian American community that we stand with you and understand how this has frightened and shocked and outraged all people, but knowing the increasing level of hate crime against our Asian American brothers and sisters, we also want to speak out in solidarity with them and acknowledge that none of us should ever be silent in the face of any form of hate.
I grew up Asian American in New York, and I was always accustomed to a certain level of bullying, of racism, but it took a form of mockery, of invisibility, of disdain, but that is metastasized into something far darker. Here in New York, it's taken the form of restaurant workers being punched in the face and assaulted, of someone being slashed on the subway, of a woman in Flushing getting shoved to the ground brutally and needing stitches in her head, of another woman having acid thrown in her face. We have to come together and say that this cannot be allowed to continue in New York, in this country, that anti-Asian racism is deadly. It's real, it is growing stronger and more powerful. And make no mistake, these women were targeted on the basis of their race. Some of these incidents were not treated as hate crimes, and that's unacceptable. The people in the Asian American community know that we are being targeted, and we need our leaders to step up and recognize the same.